Toonami Studios.
Commanders in Crisis issue number 3. If you guys are still not reading this book, I really urge you to go check it out. I think it's really fun and interesting, and it's nice to jump into a superhero world that doesn't have all the baggage we've seen before. Sure, it's a Crisis level event, but come on, it's a little different than what we've seen before, so it's really fun. We open up this book and we are following the story of this random man that we don't really know anything about him. He's narrating about like how his father like built this weird lawn aerator and he like lived off the patent from it, and they don't have to make any money or ends meet or anything, so they're fine and that kind of stuff. And we see that he's like drinking this blood that he's shaking up in a bottle and mixing with like his soda, and you're like, that's disturbing. And we see a shot of the man who was killed earlier from the first issue, and he's like drinking his blood, and I guess it gives him like some sort of power. It's just like this weird opening, and you're like, who is this guy? We've never seen him before. Lunatic. He's a lunatic. It's weird. And he's watching, you know, like the what is, I can't remember his name, like the big Republican senator we're watching on television. He's like, I support this lunatic. Drinks the blood. We get like a weird page where it's like following into his like stomach, and you see like bursting in with like all the stuff. I guess it's kind of like giving him his powers. We see it like electrifying in there. It's just kind of weird. So we cut back to the think tank, which is the headquarters of the Crisis Command. And our guy wakes up and he's like, what is going on here? I couldn't help but think I was dead before. Normally I shouldn't be alive. So they're trying to figure out who this guy is and what's going on. He's like, I think my name is Simon. And then immediately Frontier's like, oh shit. And she starts crying. She doesn't really know what's going on, so she has to excuse herself from the room. And you get an indication like, oh, she might know who this guy is. So maybe that's going to come back and play later. And it does, and we'll get to it in a bit here. But Sawbones and Originator are talking to him like, all right, so anything you can help us to like jumpstart you back. We kind of brought you back from the dead for 24 hours. I know that kind of sucks, but I'm kind of hoping like you could give us something to do with it. And he starts figuring out, it's like 24 hours. This is terrible. I have one more day, and then I gotta go die again? Like, what do you want me to do? What am I supposed to do here? It's so fun. It's just kind of weird. And then Frontier comes back with her and she's like, it's okay, you're right. Like, this is your time. You should get to do it. So we'll leave. We'll figure everything out. We'll get you some clothes because, you know, you're like a little towel's coming off there, buddy. And then Nina, who is Originator, she leaves the room and she is back in like just her own area. And we see a picture of her with Simon. And now it's like, oh, she knew Simon. Oh, I hit the mic there. She knew Simon somewhere in the past life. And you're like, I wonder what their relationship could be there. That's very interesting to see. And you see Nina's kind of been lying to some people about who she is, I guess. It's going to be interesting to see what that would be like. So they're trying to figure out, okay, how is he back and why is Nina hiding this from them? So we see that Seer and Prizefighter have went to Simon's apartment. They're looking around trying to find any information of what could have happened to him in here. And they don't really have that much figured out. You know, Prizefighter's more like, this place is a mess. You know, gay guys don't live like this. And you're like, okay, I can see that. Sure, that's funny. But Seer's like, all right, well, I got a plan that might work. Let me just use my powers here, and we'll see if we can figure out like the trace that's left behind from like the noise and everything, and we'll figure out like the scene and everything beyond. And they kind of figure out it could be like over this bridge somewhere. And as she's doing that, she starts kind of losing control of her powers again. I really like Seer. I think out of all the characters in this book, she is my favorite. I love her costume a lot. It's very clean and cool. I just really enjoy her power and what she does. She's kind of like a different type of character. I thought, like, yeah, it's going to drain her to figure everything out. So Prizefighter tries to help her, but they get a crisis alert call from Dallas. So Nina says, all right, well, you guys go ahead to Dallas. I'm gonna figure out what we can do here with Simon. So her and Simon start just walking around this, like, I guess it's just like a carnival somewhere, or like a pier. Could be, well, they were in Philadelphia, so I don't know if it's going to be like Santa Monica. But they're just kind of walking around. Like, this is your time. I don't even know what to do with it. Like, what am I supposed to do with this given time I have? Like, 24 hours for what? And Nina's still trying to be like, well, I know we want you to have this time for yourself because you deserve it. But we need to know who murdered you. Because of your death, there's a lack of empathy in the world, and we need to figure out what that is. And we cut back again. You see, like, they're both really comfortable talking to each other, and you see, like, a memory from Nina's perspective where they're hooking up. And you're like, okay, there's some history here. I would like to know what it is. Maybe there's a secret that she's not telling her team. A very Batman thing to do, because she is the Batman of this group. Absolutely. So the rest of the Crisis Command head to this place in Texas, and what you see is like there's just like blood pouring out of all these cars and there's damage everywhere, and this guy just he's like, oh, I can't answer the phone, or something bad's gonna happen to me. And then the team shows up and they crush the phone from his hand so nothing bad happens. When they walk inside the building, they see that this man is dressed up there, and he's got like this weird like doorknob thing over his dick, and it's just kind of like, oh, this is the, I'm going to assume this is the guy we saw at the beginning of the book. They don't really specify it is because we got some clues later that it might be. But if you answer the ring, you could instantly die is what they're kind of saying at here. So when they get into the room, they're like, oh my god, these people. And the only one who's kind of feeling sympathetic for anything happening is Originator. Everyone else is kind of just like, oh man, look at all these people, they're dead. And you just see they're all kind of like getting mad at each other really quickly, and they're just trying to figure like, calm down, don't say anything, this isn't what we're supposed to do. And they start yelling at each other, Prizefighter and Sawbone start really getting into each other like, really? Don't call me by that name. It's like, oh yeah, because you're the hype man over here, what you gonna do? Everyone's yelling at each other. And then Originator gives them a spell. It's like, all right, it's not like a lasting change, but now we have 24 hours of empathy worldwide, so we can actually take this seriously and get things done. And you're like, that's fun. That's a fun power. And we do get another shot from the asshole senator, who is just kind of yelling. He's like, really, this is not what we're supposed to be doing. This everything about here sucks. The world's coming to shit. We got to fix it. Everybody will be bled dead one day. And you see that the tattoo that we saw in the previous issue is on his ass cheek. So you're like, okay, he's somebody weird too. Cut back to Nina and Simon, and they're still talking like, I don't know what to do with all this time. But Simon does kind of like start to like learn something that maybe he remembers about his like murder. And there's like this guy there, and he saw that he remembered that he was kind of like bleeding, and this guy just kind of like took the blood from him. And you're like, okay, that's a little weird. So they say their goodbyes, and you see Nina's kind of like restraining herself from getting too attached to what's happening. So the last 24 hours, she's like, all right, thank you. You can have the rest of this for your time. And they leave. And they're standing outside this house of the guy that's presumably the bloodbath guy that we saw earlier. Nina comes to join them. She jumps down. She's like, all right, so we don't got a lot of time before we lose empathy again. We should just go in here and try to figure out who this guy is that killed Simon, and maybe we'll get some more answers that way. They're all ready to attack. Nina walks up to the front door, and she's like, all right, let's just knock. Maybe this will be easier. We don't have to be creepy. But from behind the Crisis Commanders, Crisis Command is what they're called. The name is just, there's so many C's, it's really complicated. But the mother of the guy walks up behind them, and she's got her gun out, and she's like, all right, what do you guys want to do? What do you want to see my son? You must be here for my son. And she's going to shoot them. Like, okay, that's a weird, interesting end, but I like it. Kind of fun. I do like this book. I think it's pretty interesting, pretty creative in its own way, and one a lot of people should check out. I really hope Crisis Command gets a lot more attention from people, because it's building into a really interesting story that I think a lot of people will enjoy, especially because if you're like me and sometimes you just want to skew away from the mainstream comics, it's nice just to find these different kind of heroes that are new and there's no baggage attached to them, so you can just enjoy that. And that's what Crisis Commanders is. Like, it's everything. I think a lot of people are going to like this. So, Commanders in Crisis, issue number 3, I am going to give a 6 out of 10. Now, thank you guys so much for watching this review. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. As always, you can check me out on Instagram, Patreon, Twitter, all that good stuff. And I will catch you in the next one. Have fun. Stay safe. Good luck.